これも見えるのね。
Hello everyone, today's video is about the ancient Magus bride. Let me try that again a little less sleepily. Today's video is about the ancient Magus bride. This is an anime and a manga. I have not read the manga, but I'm thinking about maybe buying some volumes in the future, but I have now watched 2 episodes of the anime. I've made sure not to spoil the story, so to speak. I believe there is either 14 or maybe 24 episodes in season 1. And I say season 1 because I think it is less of a one-shot. I think they are either producing a second season or have produced a second season. I think the first season, the original, was created 2017, I believe I saw yesterday. But I did that's pronounced yesterday so strangely. My accent changed. Anyway, there are 2 overs, I think, so original video animations, presumably condensing some of the plot from the first season. But so I believe it is pronounced Magus because, as in a mage, who finds an apprentice. But anyway, I was watching another anime and I saw it advertised and I thought, it has been such a while since I've watched an entirely new anime. It has been some time since I've seen a new anime. And it is nice, isn't it, when it just sits there completely new, completely fresh. You're thinking, what? I've not read a plot summary or a blurb or anything. I've not heard of any of the characters. Let's just jump in completely fresh. I thought that is really exciting, especially with so much going on in life. It is nice to very briefly go to a very distant and fictional world. I have so many browsers and tabs open, 2 browsers and more than 100 tabs across both, so just bear with me. Where are we? I should have somewhere the references that I need. Maybe it is in the Brave browser. There we go, yeah, the Ancient Magus Bride. So, they have on Wikipedia the cover of the first volume, Japanese. By the way, I've been watching it subbed. I believe there is a dub, presumably Funimation or Funimation, normally it's Funimation, handling things this side of the world. I'm just sticking with sub for now. Partly also, I think, because of course it is a different experience, and the sub is a version its own right, is the original version. But it had been such a while since I'd watched anything in sub as well. The last sub content, apart from clips here and there, was probably when Dragon Ball Super was new, and we were watching the sub episodes. That's it is interesting, and as usual there's that beautiful instrumental, enchanting, that classic enchanting music that Japanese anime always begins with. Very unique pieces from one anime to the next, but they always have this almost haunting factor, and a few notes in, you feel like the whole story has somehow been expressed through the music, and then you see a character and just one emotion from the character tells you their whole life story. So very masterful, classic anime. The art is really impressive, and the animation itself. There's a guy referred to as being a bonehead, sort of his native look. He can make himself look human. First episode in, well, even before you learn more about a couple of characters, straight away it seems as though someone's life is being written away through a contract. So straight away you have philosophical questions and ethical questions and so forth. But yeah, so the ancient Magus bride. There's the Hepburn as well. They're showing Magus, okay, and it's a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Ko Yamazaki. It is serialized in Mag Garden's monthly Comic Garden magazine. Oh no, it's licensed in North America by Seven Seas Entertainment, but that's the manga. A 3 parts prequel over. That's it. One over was a prequel, produced by Wit Studio. Aired from 2017 to 2018. A second original 3-part over was released in September 2001. Here we go, yeah. A second season, also by Studio Kafka, premiered in April this year. So it is still quite a new thing, new kid on the block and still going. Well, I suppose, I don't know, I suppose it may have ended now, but there might be a third season. It sounds like the manga is still being created. Then there was a summary. The main character, a woman, was ostracized by both her relatives and partially by society. It starts off in Japan, but then you go to England and I believe London specifically, and then they moved in the second episode. They were visiting another area where a dragon's hobby appeared. But yeah. The series deals with a romantic slice of life story in a surreal and supernatural light. Yeah, very surreal. You need to clarify that. It is not a standard romantic piece, but it is a Japanese anime. It is what you would expect. A drama CD was bundled with the limited edition of the 5th volume, released in March 2016. Some copies of the English volume 8 were printed with black and white covers instead of colour. Collected into 19 tankobon volumes. 17 published in English as of March 7th of this year. Two spin-off manga were created. Oh yes, I remember reading that. Okay, here we go. Here's the anime. It says the series is titled The Ancient Magus Bride, Those Awaiting a Star. I never saw this subtitle mentioned anywhere. I had no idea that there was a subtitle. Was there? Wit Studio produced the animation. Production IG is credited with planning and production. Hirotaka Kato designed the characters, and Bamboo is in charge of the background art. Bamboo is a lot more sentient and clever than it used to be. They have strange bamboo in Japan. The series music is composed by, that almost looked like, what's his name from Pokemon? Junichi Masada. Junichi Matsumoto, and produced by Flying Dog. Again, their dogs are... They can do things our dogs cannot do. Produced by Flying Dog. I'm not familiar with any of these companies. They've done a very good job. It is directed by I Need My Glasses, which is a strange name for a director. Directed by Noehiro Neganuma, and written by Kori Yamazaki, of course, with scripts by Aya Takaha. They bundled some of the episodes with some of the volumes of the manga. Some of the episodes, the first episode was shown in theatres for 2 weeks, and also some of the other episodes. Crunchyroll began streaming the first episode on September 10th, 2016. Wait, hang on. You're going backwards, now you're talking about the anime being announced. Juno performed the opening theme here. Hane Toki performed the ending theme, Ra Cycle. The second opening theme is You by Mayan. The ending theme is Suki no Mu Henbun, The Moon is Already a Half Moon, by Aki and Akino from Blessful. Okay, the anime adapted the manga till the ninth volume. Okay. Won the Best Drama Award at the 2017 Crunchyroll Anime Awards. Crunchyroll licensed and streamed the series worldwide except for Japan, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau. Here we go, Funimation. I knew Funimation would have a play somewhere. Funimation streamed an English dub on their website, distributed the series on home video in North America. Mango Entertainment distributed the series on home video in the United Kingdom and Ireland. That's standard. Then it's more about the OVA. So a second season was announced last year in September. Studio Kafka is returning from the OVA to produce the season. If they're saying from the OVA, so Studio Kafka are not around for the first season, so there might be some interesting changes in the second season. Kazuoka Terasawa returning to direct. Chiaki Nishinaka is joining Aya Takahara and Yoko Yanayama in writing a screenplay. Hirotaka Kato and Junichi Matsumoto, who is not the guy from Pokemon, are also returning as character designer and composer. The opening theme song Dear is again performed by Jana. The first call aired from something on Tokyo. Okay, so half of the second season has been aired already, it seems. There's a stage play, I remember reading that. Critical reception, very good, impressed by the art and accolades, and yes, there we go. So those are the credits. So yeah, some very interesting companies and people have conspired together to create what's a very very interesting anime. So straight from the first episode, and I started the second episode today. I've not even, actually no, I did finish it. It was so short because they're about 24 minutes long, and that's including the opening and ending theme, I believe. So about maybe 20 minutes of a story. So yeah, I forgot I actually did finish the second episode today, but it was over so quickly. So I'm only 2 episodes in, so in the first episode we are introduced to this young woman who is in a building of some sort, and she's signing her life away basically. And this mysterious figure with a very large head but humanoid otherwise ends up buying her at an auction essentially, and he wants to train her to be his apprentice, and secondly he wants her to be his wife. She you can kind of see where the story is going to go, particularly with regards to their relationship. And in the second episode, a dragon appeared and kidnapped her with some guy riding atop the dragon. And we were introduced to a sort of, I guess, protagonist, an ally. Well, actually, two people. I've forgotten his name now, but Bonehead Guy is familiar with. One says he preaches both as a pastor and as a priest, and the other guy, a woman, was at some sort of library, but it was a front. She sort of produces artifacts that require magic rather than electricity in order to function, So by the first episode, it is easily engaging and curious enough to have you want to watch the other episodes. The pacing is interesting. Time flies quickly, but it is quite a slow-moving anime. I mean, the transitions from scene to scene, I suppose, are fairly speedy, but not much happens within one episode, I suppose. But that said, so much happened in the first episode. I was wanting to mention that there's the whole bath scene, which was mentioned in the second episode, and Bonehead, I cannot remember his name, was rightly told off for that, because I think he was claiming not to know, or was believing that she did not know how to bath herself. You can see where this is going. So he's forcibly trying to bath her, and obviously she's not happy about that, as you'd expect. So there's obviously some sort of want to try and portray him as this guy who is not human, but perhaps wants to be human, does not understand the ways of society and individual thinking. I mean, because he asks a lot of questions, and he seems almost satisfied when she does not answer, as though he's not expecting her to, and he's, I suppose, in a way, trying to figure things out about himself as much as about her. So there are many ethical questions straight from the. So that is a curiosity, trying to understand what can he really be trusted? Who is this guy? What is he up to? Because yeah, I know I would not be pleased if somebody forced me into a bathroom and told me how to wash and so forth. And for her, it's just one thing after another. It is a scary ordeal. She feels she needs to sell herself because her life was over, or there was no value in her life. So she's obviously, I mean, I suppose not necessarily Stockholm syndrome coming into play, but there's a great submissiveness, I suppose. A great, not necessarily just to him, he's an sort of interlocutor or such, but a submissiveness to the universe itself, saying, I'm not even going to try and be the captain of my soul, the master of my fate, as William Ernest Henley would want me to be. I'm going to bow to the universe. I'm going to let the unknown take over, and yet the thing is, the curious thing is, like when he says the shackles will no longer be needed, he has them disappear. He's giving her some sort of freedom, and watching her test herself when some fairies lead her astray, and then he comes to rescue her. So it's, the whole system obviously looks crooked. You think, hang on, you're buying someone, and this was pointed out in episode 2 by his apprentice. You bought her. She had no idea that he had bought this person, this apprentice. You're buying somebody. You're buying a living entity. Sure, we do that with animals, but with humans, that's immediately frowned upon. She's been bought, and yet there's this attempt to make it look as though he is caring for her and is actually trying to give her freedom, maybe even develop her identity or discover who she is. But it cannot be called selfless, because he wants to train her. He wants to train her to be his apprentice. And I think she asked in episode 1, I think, can I say no? And he said something like, essentially, no, but you do have a choice. Something like that, something a bit ambiguous. But yeah, something else. There is some language some people would call strong language. I think only in episode 2 so far. So he wants something out of her. He purchased her not to free her. Unless that was his game all along. But he's a mage. There are dying people. Or very rare, rarely discovered, rarely seen. I suppose he wants to pass the legacy on, so he's forcing her to adopt that lifestyle. So although you have all these cozy exteriors, you have the security of the home. I will look after you. There's a maid. We'll give you weapons, and you can go out when you want. Maybe. You can shower, maybe he'll provide clothing, and in episode 1 there was a feast of some kind. In episode 2 there was a classic English breakfast cooked for her. but when you that does not change the system. That essentially she's a slave still, very much a prisoner. So it is interesting to wonder how they will deal with this. Maybe by episode 20 he will confess that he feels sorry for people at these auctions and he was trying to find a way to save them, or maybe he will say just he just felt entitled to train her, and because he feels his legacy is so important. So yeah, interesting ethical questions. So yeah, so episode 1 was called, oh, my brain is too sleepy. It's something about flowers may, something comes in the flowers. I can't remember now. Let's go to the Animal Wikipedia. I can also even recall what episode 2 was called. April showers bring May flowers. That's it. Yeah. Original air date October the 2nd, 2017. One today is worth two tomorrows was episode 2. Yeah. So episode 3, the balance distinguishes knots between gold and lead. Interesting. So episode 1 was directed by Yoko Kanamori, and episode 2 was directed by Noriyuki Namata. Episode 1, going back to episode 1, it was storyboarded by Norihiro Naganuma, and same for episode 2 and episode 3. So it seems to be the seasonal storyboarder. So I might go and watch episode 3 now, and we'll see how she escapes from the dragons. Presumably this will be resolved before the end of the episode. I'm sure the mage will turn up and liberate her. But yeah, we'll see. Oh yeah, she's something called Sigi Becky, a special type of human. And that is why she can see certain creatures others cannot, I believe. But anyway, yeah, that was just a quick overview. So I will go and watch episode 3 right now, I think.